Good morning.
Today we have a presentation by Brother Terry Rogers, Jr. In addition to his presentation, he will share some personal experiences.
Mr. John Robert Lewis. John Robert Lewis was born outside of Troy, Alabama on February 21st, 1940. Lewis had a happy childhood, though he needed to work hard to assist his sharecropper parents, but he shouted against the unfairness of segregation. Hearing Martin Luther King's sermons and the news of the 1955 to 1956 Montgomery bus boycott inspired Lewis to act for the changes he wanted to see. In 1957, John Lewis left Alabama to attend American Baptist Theological Seminary in Nashville, Tennessee. There he learned about nonviolent protest and helped organize sit-ins at segregated lunch counters. He was arrested during these demonstrations, which upset his mother. Lewis was committed to the Civil Rights Movement and went on to participate in the Freedom Rise of 1961. Freedom Riders challenged the segregated facilities they encountered at interstate bus terminals in the South, which had been deemed illegal by the Supreme Court. It was dangerous work that resulted in arrests, beatings, including Lewis. In 1963, Lewis became chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. The same year as one of the big six leaders of the Civil Rights Movement, he helped plan the March on Washington. Lewis was the youngest speaker at the event. He had to alter his speech in order to please other organizers, but still delivered a powerful oration. After the March on Washington in 1964, the Civil Rights Act became law. However, this did not make it easier for African Americans to vote in the South. To bring attention to the struggle, Lewis and Hosea Williams led a march in Selma, Alabama to Montgomery, Alabama on March 9, 1965. After crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge, the marchers were attacked by state troopers. Lewis was severely beaten once more, this time suffering a fractured skull. The violent attacks were recorded and disseminated throughout the country, and the images proved too powerful to ignore. Bloody Sunday, as the day was labeled, sped up the passage of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Lewis left Schenectady in 1966. Though devastated by the assassinations of King and Robert Kennedy in 1968, Lewis continued his work to enfranchise minorities. In 1970, he became director of the Voter Education Project. Lewis ran for office himself in 1981, winning a seat in the Atlanta City Council. In 1986, he was elected to the House of Representatives. Today, he is still representing as Georgia's 5th district. He is one of the most respected members of Congress. Since entering office, he has called for health care reform, measures to fight poverty, and improvements in education. In the wake of the mass shooting that took place on June 12, 2016 in Orlando, Florida, Lewis led a sit-in of approximately 40 House Democrats on the floor of the House of Representatives. On June 22nd, in an attempt to bring attention and force Congress to address gun violence by taking definitive legislative action, Lewis said, "We have been quiet for too long." Though the Supreme Court he was devastated through the Supreme Court Voting Rights Act, which they tried to stop, was a blow to Lewis. He has been encouraged by the progress that has occurred in his lifetime. After Obama won the presidency in 2008, Lewis stated, "When we were organizing voter registration drives, going on freedom rides, sitting in, coming here to Washington for the first time, getting arrested, going to jail, being beaten, I never would have thought, I never would have dreamed that African American would win presidency of these United States of America." In addition to continuing his work in Congress, Lewis has reached out to a younger generation to help create a series of graphic novels about his work in the Civil Rights Movement. The Civil Rights icon has also been honored with numerous awards, including the Presidential Medal of Honor. The reason I chose Mr. John Lewis is because I met him on March 9th, 2015, which is my birthday, in Selma, Alabama, on the 50th anniversary, and I talked to him about 7 to 10 minutes. And at the end of our conversation, he invited me to his office, in which I hope to take this on. I also chose Mr. Lewis because he's Mr. Lewis. He has always stuck by the people and what's right about the people, no matter what it was 60 years ago or 2 days ago when he spoke to Congress. He is a war hero that was wounded but never got his Purple Heart. He is an American hero, one of my heroes. And he has the manner to speak, and I believe that we should too. And as he said, my mother and father and family members didn't say, always said, don't get in trouble, don't get in the way. I got in trouble, I got in the way. It was necessary trouble. Thank you, and thank you, Mr.